Okay, my name is Jacob Stickle. I am the archival specialist here at Warren County for the oral history program. I'm here with my colleague,
Tori Otten, assistant archivist.
and we are interviewing.
Ted Hitchens.
Okay. Today is Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, and we're going to start off with some general background questions. So, you already answered what your name is, so tell us about your early life. So, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
So I grew up in Cincinnati. I went to Sycamore School since I was about 8 years old. Graduated from Sycamore in 1995. Go Aviators. And after which I went into the military for a few years and went to college immediately thereafter. Went to the University of Cincinnati. I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice in 2005 and a master's degree in criminal justice from Xavier University in 2012.
Nice.
But I was working here during the time during grad school. So.
All right. And that goes into, did you go to post-secondary school, you mentioned?
Oh, like after college? Yeah, it was grad school. I started grad school about 5 years after my undergrad.
So in that case, and during or after your college degrees, what jobs did you have prior to working for Warren County?
I just worked part-time in retail, like after the military, just to get through school, just to cover what the GI Bill didn't cover.
All right. I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have anything more?
No, not really. I enlisted in the Navy after high school, and I was stationed on a carrier out of Norfolk.
Which carrier?
It's Enterprise.
Ah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Then next is the next set of questions. It is the departmental questions. So, how did you end up working for Warren County?
So I originally applied in summer of '06, and Pam Schwartz, I believe, was the records manager at the time, and ended up giving the position to another applicant, just the way it goes. And then fast forward about 9 months, spring of '07, she calls me back and offering me the same job. I guess they were doing some rearranging here in the office at the time. So yeah, I accepted the position and been here since.
All right. And thank you. And where did you work during your time?
It was mainly here in the record center, right here in the lower level, the admin building.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the year that you started, and how long did you work officially? So
it's been about 16 and a half years now.
Mm.
So I actually did part of my internship with the Mary Haven Youth Center. This was like summer of 2011. So beyond that.
So you already specified that the Record Center has always existed in the basement of the Warren County Administration Building since you started here, but how has the location somewhat changed over the years?
I guess just where stuff was stored over there at the time. I mean, there are shelving units there that weren't there when I started. A lot of shelving units have been rearranged by me back there. I remember when I was first here, what we know as Bay D, you couldn't walk back there. It was completely filled up with like destruction stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, and my first day here was a destruction. Oh yeah, and the first row of shelves were all filled, and there was stuff on the floor, and there was boxes piled back on Bay D. So of all different sizes. So yeah, that was a job.
Man.
It's hard to visualize nowadays, but
It really is.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned that you were putting up some of these shelving units that we put our historical books on in the reading room, right?
Mm-hmm. Now those were, I was mainly just realigning them just so they look more even, look more uniform. I mean, some of them were crooked, and some of them the books didn't really fit. I mean, they're almost wedged in there. So I just made it look more even. Probably better for the books too, I imagine. So it got noisy in there with the power tools, but
Oh yeah,
that's
that's
okay. It came out for the best.
What were some of your daily tasks and duties?
So mainly delivering files to the other departments and just keeping track of where things are and just being able to know how to find stuff quickly. My trainer at the time was former records manager James Zimmerlin, and he showed me how to locate individual files, the location codes that we use to find files, and how to sign them out. We signed them out on paper. So each individual file, we had to write down the date, the file number, and you had to initial it. You take that with you, deliver the file, and have the person you deliver it to initial it, or have anybody initial it. Oh yeah, we still got them.
Well, in that regard, we're digital now. So at what point do you remember going digital?
Oh, geez. 2012, 2013, we made the program on Access that I still refer to from time to time. If a file comes back that was checked out forever ago, and if it predates the news system that was put up, gosh, that's been about a year now since the new one. It's been almost a year. Wow.
Time flies.
Oh yeah. So every now and again I'll refer back to it because it goes back to I think the first deliveries from the Access system were for 2011, but we've had files come back that were checked out before I started working here.
What is something that people don't know about your position or role?
That we have delivery schedules. I guess a lot of folks are just curious about how do you know where to find things, especially when they come and visit the record center. We've had our share of visitors and such, and people often impressed by, they come in here and they see this huge warehouse of these shelves and all these boxes hold all these records, and it's like how do you find the one thing, and we've got tens of thousands of records in there, so a lot of folks don't know how the location codes were developed and how that makes it so easy to to find individual files, and most of the files are sorted by case number, which helps a lot. Some of them are alphabetized and some of them by date, but yeah, folks they seem impressed that they learned something the way that we'll show them a typical location code and how we find things back there, and I think a lot of other departments kind of modeled their storage after that. So
definitely something to be proud of.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
very handy, even after all these years.
And how often do you interact with the public?
Oh, that's one of my favorite ones. Probably not very often, but I've had some memorable, we'll say memorable, interactions, and a lot of them were over the phone. What are some good ones here? Well, I had a guy call one time. This is back when I used to do the genealogy requests. And I had a guy call one time because he learned from another department, I'm guessing, that we have his criminal record stored here. And he wanted us to expunge it because he didn't want his wife to find out that he took her car, because he insisted the car was in his name.
Oh no.
So yeah, that was a fun one, and I just informed him that your file had to be requested through the clerk of courts, and he sounded. It took me a while to convince him to do that, but about an hour later, I got a request from them to deliver the file. I could not get it over there fast enough.
Oh, of course not.
So.
On that, how much did your position change over time since you worked at Warren County? You mentioned you took genealogy requests at one point.
Yeah, and I think for a while there, I was focusing exclusively on the deliveries and bringing back new boxes, because I think right around this time is when we got the access-based system up, and that had a feature where you could. There was a table for file deliveries and a table for incoming boxes, and because just the regular log, the paper logs, that was just for files. We didn't have anything for box deliveries coming in, going out. So it was pretty important that we kept track of that as well. So that's one thing that it changed, a good effective way to keep track of box deliveries, even if a box gets relocated. To make room for other stuff. Because I think a lot of the challenges we'd run into is a department would call and they would say, I'm guessing we have about 20 boxes. And I go over there and I count there's like 50. And I think another thing is, one of the bigger challenges was a lot of departments didn't really know our regulations behind. It has to be in this particular box. And we'd like it labeled, because, we don't know what's in these boxes. It's not our job to know that, so that's, I can't tell you how many times I will go and pick up boxes and well, we don't know what they are. And it's like, well, if you don't know what they are, how do we know? So, we had to train departments to know exactly what the records had, could they be stored, and for how long, So, there was a transition period there for a while, because we only have so much room for the departments. Clerk of courts obviously is the biggest one that we service. They have their own bay, where some departments they have a few rows. So, but it's gotten significantly better over the years. Just the communication and what we can do or what they can do. So, it's always a process. Always riding that learning curve.
Okay.
Oh. Are there coworkers, managers, or others you've worked with that had an impact on you? Who are they?
Oh, I can think of a couple right off the bat. Jana Wells. We all love Jana. I consider Jana my work mom. So Jana, because she worked for the county for a while and then she left and came back. And when I was first hired in 2007, I think I had just missed her.
Okay.
And she came and visited a couple times, and then she came back to us. Help me out here.
I think
2014?
13 or 14, yeah.
Yeah.
She would have been here prior to May of 2014.
Mm-hmm. Because Jen Haney was our records manager when she came back.
Which was May 2013 she was hired.
Something like that, yeah. Jana never worked here when Jane Zimmerlin was the manager. So, but at any rate, Jana was wonderful because she had already been familiar with the county, working here, the culture, and she was just so warm, so funny, a very understanding person, and just good to laugh with, just a good person to have around. I would say the other is Jennifer Baker, and one thing I loved about Jennifer was she was very patient, with me especially. If there's something I couldn't find, because I've always been like a hands-on person, as my wife will tell you, you can explain something to me and explain it, but I have to see it. Once I see it, and Jennifer was always good about showing me, the things. So she was always a good resource to have. She never got like irritated or anything if I kept getting confused on stuff. So, I would say those two come to mind: Jana Wells and Jennifer Baker.
Absolutely.
So, God love them.
So, kind of similarly, are there any memorable projects you helped with over the years, maybe with one or both of them?
Oh, I think a fun one that Jennifer and I did was the Prohibition exhibit. That was neat because we actually found a couple of the old court cases that dealt with that when that was going on. We had a really neat display up in the display cabinet. I got to bring in some things from home. I have a couple of empty beer bottles from some of the Cincinnati distilleries that were shut because of Prohibition. Because I'm such a sucker for old things like that, things that tell a story. Another neat project I did was one of the county's earlier judges, Francis Dunleavy. That was a neat project to do. It was neat to see his cases he's presided over. We actually have his will and estate stored here. He was a Revolutionary War veteran and one of the first educators in the area. So it was neat to learn about that. I also worked with Jennifer on an area known as Foster's Crossing near like present-day Mainville. And are you familiar with this area? It's like what is now Montgomery Road, probably southeast of here. So that was pretty neat history around those areas. So yeah, those were some fun projects.
Nice.
What collection of records is your favorite?
Oh geez, I've always liked those two big maps. I think those are probably the most popular anyway. But they're still accurate to today. I mean, even the county, the topography of the county looks a lot like what those maps show. It's interesting to see an old map like that with familiar places. So I always thought those were pretty neat.
Well, kind of going back a bit to your memorable projects, you spoke on exhibits. Did you work on any exhibits other than those three? I believe you helped with the new auditors exhibit.
We did the new auditors exhibit. I briefly helped with the exhibit. I think is still upstairs about the old the Peters cartridge factory. That was neat. Because I go bicycling a lot and I go right by it. Yeah, it's now Cartridge Brewing, but that was a neat history behind that place. And I think one of your first interviews was a gentleman who worked there, or he was one of the first police officers of Hamilton
That would
Township.
be Clyde Baston.
Clyde Baston, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I remember him talking about one of the explosions that happened there, and he responded to. So that was neat to do the project on that.
Yeah. Well, if you had to choose, which of those exhibits you helped with would be your favorite?
I would say probably the Prohibition one.
Prohibition?
Yeah. Because it's something that's a period that everybody is familiar with. I don't think there's a part of the country that wasn't affected by that in some way. Warren County being no exception. So,
What have been some of your biggest challenges working at the Record Center?
weather. No, I think just sometimes we get a call from another department. It could be a judge or elected official. They need a file right away, and of course, if it's a judge, you need to expedite that, as soon as possible. Sometimes when we would get our our new digital inventory system, the Access one that is, sometimes you would open a box for a file and it's not there, it's missing. Like our new system will tell us if something is missing, because that's what I like about the new one. It tells you in real time if something is missing or not. Whereas like the Access form, it's handy, but it's like a digital form of the paper version. But if something was already missing, that could be challenging. So I guess just making sure things are delivered on time, especially if somebody's waiting for them. Nowadays a lot of departments go in paperless, so that's less of an issue nowadays. But yeah, it happens.
Sure does. What has the Record Center and Archives taught you that you weren't anticipating?
I guess just it's just new ways to keep things organized. Different things. I wasn't anticipating that there's more than one way to store things like the books, and the categorizing the files and just to keep up with retention schedules, things that can be destroyed now versus in 6 months versus 50 years, and that can change so much. I remember destruction periods where the day before the destruction we would get a notice from the state that, oh, we can't destroy these just yet, we have to keep these for another year. The truck is on the way and they're pulling down the loading dock right now, and we just got the notice that we can't destroy these records. So yeah, it can be a lot to keep up with. So that's that's something that's challenging that you don't quite anticipate. So
No, certainly not. And now we're going into the more Warren County general questions. What are some of your highlights of your time with the county?
I guess just the friends I've made, over the years, just getting to know people and their families. I think it's always surprising where, you meet a colleague here, they have small children, and then, it just seems like very briefly later, how's your little girl doing? And, oh, she's starting college this year. And it's like, wait, what? I still get asked today, how's that little baby doing? Like, well, my little baby's about to start the first grade, and so, and it just kind of makes you feel kind of like part of a community in a sense. When you get to know folks like that, they can open up to you, and everybody's families, pets. We're all about pets here, all about our pets, and so yeah, that's always a nice highlight when we get to make friends like that. So
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What was the county like when you started versus now?
So I got bigger, population-wise. That is, what used to be just kind of small rural areas have really expanded. I mean, even just right here in Lebanon has changed a lot, and I think for the better. I mean, there's hits and misses, but when I started here, you go out to Monroe, Miami Valley Gaming, that wasn't there. All those shopping centers, that wasn't there. There was Trader's World, and that was it. So, yeah, it's, and Mason is just exploding. So, the county was still, when I first started here, kind of a rural area. In some areas it kind of still is, but it's just really, really expanding. It's kind of impressive, really. So.
Did anything significant happen within the county government during your time as an employee?
I guess nothing earth-shattering. I mean, I remember there was I remember one former prosecutor, Rachel Hutzel, she passed away, and I remember that. And I was, I'm just happy to hear, folks retiring, kind of bummed because I loved, being with them, working for them, but, happy for them. So, I guess just, nothing huge, but, it's, you get attached to somebody and then they, move on to something, they retire or go somewhere else. So.
What was COVID like during your time here?
Oh gosh, it kind of ties in with the previous question. It seemed like in a matter of minutes everything just shut down right away. So we were home for weeks working from home for weeks at a time. The first couple of weeks we would just work for a couple hours, and then later on we would do a full day, work a full day from home. And I guess for my wife and I, it was kind of a silver lining in the sense that our son was 3 and he was still in daycare. So, he wasn't affected by, some of the schools that were shut down. It was interesting toggling, trying to get work done and keep a 3-year-old entertained, and 2 cats and a dog. The cat who liked to take a nap on the computer keyboard is, of course. But I think like everywhere else, COVID shook up a lot of things. Working from home even changed the culture in general. I think somebody you guys interviewed from upstairs mentioned the title examiners. We used to see them all the time. I have not seen one of them since COVID, and that would be a very significant thing.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, what are some of the most important things you learned from working for Warren County in general?
I guess just exercise patience. If somebody needs things right away, you learn to prioritize. Like, I'm gonna deliver these records over here first, and then I'll get to these. I've just learned to consolidate tasks better. Like I'll combine box deliveries and file deliveries. So. If I'm loading up a bunch of boxes, a bunch of empty boxes to take to another department, it's like, well, the department right next door needs this file, so I'll take this file too, and just kind of try and do everything at once. I kind of apply that at home a lot too.
Hey, it works.
So.
It sure does. What do you miss? What are you going to miss most about working for the county?
Oh, I just think first and foremost the people. So it was hard to tell some folks that hey, my last day's coming up, and I'll miss just being able to walk around a lot, because I like to stay mobile. I don't like staying in standing or sitting in one place for a long time. So it was nice to get around. That allows me to see everybody. To see everybody, check in on everybody. So yeah, I'll definitely miss that.
What advice do you have to give current and future Warren County employees?
I guess just just be mindful of the fact that there's a lot of folks here who have been here a long time that are very hesitant about change. This is an area that when I first started, people here are very resistant to change. It's gotten better over the years, but sometimes change comes gradually, or sometimes it's like COVID, changes hit you like a ton of bricks. And some people meet with that easier than others, and you just gotta you just gotta be patient and just kind of just take things one day at a time. So.
Yeah. Well, do you have any additional information we haven't covered during this interview that you'd like to share?
Oh, it's not offhand. I remember the first delivery vehicle we had.
Oh no.
One of the tires kept getting low.
She was a beauty.
Yeah, I missed that car. And I got a flat tire one time. I was in Deerfield Park because I've taken it back a whole bunch of because the title office used to have satellite offices near, I think, right off of Tylersville Road, and I got a flat tire out there one time. So now even today with our new car, I still look at the tires, make sure tires aren't going flat. So yeah. Check the tires.
The biggest advice you can give someone, check the tires.
So.
Goes with the last question, giving advice to employees.
So yeah, sometimes I would no more than one way into the common pleas building, because sometimes I would deliver a criminal file of, it could be a murder case, and the guy's up for parole or something. And I've come up there, with the murder case, and if it's a big case like that, so there's going to be boxes of it. So you go in there, here's the family of the victim on one side over here, and over here you got the family of the guy the guy up for parole. So I'm just like, I'm going to go in back here. I don't want to be walking through here, news crews and all. So.
Oof.
So I've not been approached by the press. so I almost have a couple of times, but I was like, no.
Please stay away. Okay.
Alright, well, if there's anything else, then this concludes.
Not off the top of my head.
Alrighty, then this concludes the interview. Thank you for coming, Ted.
Okay.